Energized show, up the Irish.
Okay, what's going on, guys? And welcome to a brand new episode of Energized. Russ,
are you intoxicated or something?
How's the form, bud?
Yeah, good, man. Intoxicated. Too much Forge Irish Stout. That stuff is absolutely delicious. Yeah, we just decided we jump on and do an episode on McGregor Forever. Obviously the Netflix documentary that dropped there on Wednesday. So we're like, let's watch it and then we'll talk about it, because whether you like it or not, Conor McGregor, he's the biggest star that the UFC has ever seen. He's the biggest star MMA has ever seen. He's one of the most talked about sports people in the world. Whether you love him or hate him, you're going to watch it and see what it's about. So we watched it. And Barry, what were your initial thoughts?
You didn't watch it, bud, did you?
Man, I watched all 4 episodes back to back. I was like, here comes the McGregor marathon. Sign me up.
You were like, Baz, you watch it. I'll pretend I watched it.
No, it really, really was. It was a fascinating watch. Obviously, you got to see the sort of the highs and the lows of the fight game, and they really are the highest highs and the lowest lows. And getting to see those behind the scenes footage was incredible. And just, I actually thought just the way it was shot in general was done really, really well. What was your initial thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, first of all, Netflix do a fantastic job in all the documentaries. Like, I love going there for documentaries. And obviously, Conor did one before with Netflix. He did one before with Severe MMA as well, which was great as well. So, like, This is like the 3rd one. But like,
in fairness, put that man on camera, it's always going to be good, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, like this one, for people that haven't watched it yet, make sure to check it out. It's cut up in 4 parts, and it's like the behind the scenes stuff is the stuff that really, like, it really, really hits home. Like, I know the way we cover MMA, after the fights, we go into the backstage and we see when fighters lose. It's like, it's crazy to see, like, how much they put their heart and soul into the fights. And then, like, even in episode 1, after Conor loses to Khabib, the way, like, Conor Jr. goes over to him and like gives him a hug. It's just like such a crazy sport, isn't it?
Yeah, it really, really is. And it's sort of broken down the 4 episodes into his last 4 fights, per se. It's Khabib, then Cowboy, then Poirier 2, and Poirier 3. And I suppose maybe we'll start on the Khabib fight, because obviously Conor seemed to be in a darker place for that one. Like, the bad blood was real for that one. Like, obviously he was promoting Proper 12 at the same time. He wasn't fully focused on the fight, and obviously it didn't go his way. But I think the initial takeaway from that, there was 2 takeaways from that first episode for me. The first one was seeing him in the back after he lost, and like, sort of Dana came in and was like, "Oh, sorry about that." Like, sort of the fight after the fight, the people jump in the cage, and Conor was like, "That's handbags. Like, that doesn't matter." He was like, "I lost where it mattered," and like, that's sort of what got to him. It just goes to show how much, or so much, hunger he has for the competition, and how important winning is to that man.
Yeah, do you know what? It was weird to go back to that time as well. Remember the build up, all the stuff from like the dolly and the dolly on the bus, like just all the build up, the press conference. Like, I was just like, I can't believe we're starting off here. Pure chaos, man. Like, just remembering those times. Like, I mean, the build up to that fight was something crazy over here. Remember, like, everyone was talking about Conor at that stage. Like, it was just absolute nuts.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the thing with Conor. You get the casuals involved as well, and like, the amount of people asking us, been like, "Can this wrestler fella, can he beat Conor, or what's the story?" And then you got it the other way, being like, "Can Conor beat this wrestler fella? I've seen a video of him wrestling a bear. What's the crack with that?" You know, and like, that was sort of the way that was built, and it's still today, UFC 229, the biggest pay-per-view of all time. It probably won't be beaten for a while either.
No, but like, just the way that was the one coming off the Mayweather fight, like Conor having the 2 belts, like the Proper 12 thing, that was like, as it went on into the second episode, the way he said, like, he took his eye off the ball. Like, sure, he was drinking on fight week, and then he said he wasn't giving justice to his team, his family, his supporters. by drinking and not being fully committed, not like fully immersed in the game. And as you know, like Khabib doesn't drink. All he does is love to wrestle and compete the whole time. So it was it didn't go to plan as obviously, but like the afters was absolutely insane as well. The way Khabib did that, like fucking, like what do you call that?
Soaring
Like,
eagle.
what was it? What's that thing when you go a cannonball?
Yeah,
cannonball out of the cage straight onto Dylan Dennis. Like it was just like watching the episodes back, like starting off with that chaos was just like, can't believe we're going back here. I know I've already said that, but I just couldn't believe this was where we were starting off. But like obviously the afters after Conor lost, you can like it's the stuff that goes on behind the scenes is the stuff that really, really hits home. I know I said that earlier as well. It's just like seeing him being a dad now compared to like the last documentary. Like you see him in a totally different light. And then like even after the Khabib fight, saying he wants that back, but then like give him community service and go and see him doing the community service. That was something that was so funny because like the way he went to a church, the way like he was taking all in, like the way seeing him act as a normal human being, because the way he's promoted and he like sort of shows himself at that stage, it was if he wasn't even a real human.
Yeah, the community service was wild to see him sweeping up benches in the church pews, something that you'd never see really. But like you said, he seems to find meaning or find relevance in every scenario and every situation. He was going around like reading the Bible quotes on the I don't know what they were. There were sort of pictures or whatever, and like he was taking something from it as well. So it's great to see that like he still has that aura of humbleness to him, that like he had no problem doing the cleaning up the church. Like it seemed to not faze him. He was like, "This is grand. Like I deserve to have to do this, so now I'm doing it." It was definitely strange to see someone with all that money like be sweeping up a church, but he seemed to get great satisfaction from doing it.
This is number one bullshit.
Yeah, it was just great to see that he lived from the experience of Khabib and then moved on. Like bar the sort of family stuff, the Khabib stuff, the community service stuff, that was really episode 1 in Bad Blood Rot.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, that was episode 1. Episode 2,
as real as it gets.
Yeah, as real as it gets. That sort of started off with his daughter's christening, really, didn't it?
Yeah,
he broke the hand. He broke his hand. He had 2 green things sticking out at one stage. And again, it's so fun to see that like this man is one of the most, sort of sought after stars in the world. And like I'd never seen him with like those 2 green balls in his hand before. I don't know whether it's a splint or what you call it, but obviously with some sort of device to help his bones grow back together. And you see him there, and he throws this massive party for his daughter's christening, and he has her in his arms at one stage, like, "This is all for you." And you see him chatting to Gunnar Nelson, and you can see him when he chats to Gunnar, like you can see the passion he has for fighting when he's talking about it to him, and like it's crazy to see. And you can see like how all out he goes for his family, and he touches on it a few times in the documentary, like it's all for them. And I think there was a quote played back to him that when his kids are set for life, like that's when he'll be happy, and they probably are at this stage. But again, like he's not satisfied by anything. Like he's always hungry for more, and he always wants more. And obviously, he went to Russia as well, and like especially after the Khabib, I think it was a parry match, and like seeing the fandom that he had in Russia was insane. You know what I mean? So it was just one of those crazy things. And then, he was obviously looking to get back in there sooner. And, he's actually become such a star at that stage. Well, even prior to Khabib, that, it's actually hard to schedule fights for him, because obviously he generates massive pay-per-view buys. They don't want to put him on the pay-per-views with another champion. And that they're almost like making pay-per-views for him. So it becomes a lot harder to schedule a McGregor fight. And that's what we saw with the Cerrone fight. When he fought Cerrone that time, it was almost like an added pay-per-view that they put in. You know what I mean? And we got like almost a flashback to the OG Conor in this episode as well. You know what I mean? We saw him make his debut in Stockholm. We saw him do the 60 Gs to the camera. You know, and it was crazy to see. And then we were even seeing him sitting on the couch wearing his boxing gloves. And I was like, why is this guy wearing his boxing gloves? And then you find out later on the episode, he's watching the UFC on the telly, and he turns to his son. He's like, "Daddy's going to fight in there later." I was like, what? And I was like, it was crazy that the UFC pay-per-view had started. He's sitting at home on his couch watching the fights, and he's like, right, time to go. And then it cuts to like the next scene, and he's wearing like this immaculate maroon suit, and you're like, off he goes. It was just to see him instantly switch from Ja to global superstar in a matter of moments.
Yeah, it was it was crazy. It was like the whole thing really blew me away. I think around that stage as well, Conor didn't do as much media. Like post the Khabib fight, like we didn't actually see him as much. The only stuff we sort of saw from him was from the stuff he put up on Instagram, and remember there was pictures going around the christening, and like because of like that like just seeing the sort of background stuff, like the way he was interacting with his family, saying how much he wanted to get back in and fight. In the build up to that Cowboy fight as well, people like didn't know who he was going to fight. He eventually got Cowboy. Just listening back to people saying like how much of a 50-50 fight it was going to be, and the way Conor just blew through him, and that was probably the best Conor's looked in the last few years. Like when he went in, like he almost finished him too quick. I think 40 seconds.
He didn't get the ring time as well, and it was obviously a mad fight. And then seeing the celebrations of the aftermath of Cerrone was insane. Like seeing Owen Roddy there, like couldn't believe it. Dana White comes in, and as if he'd never seen Conor McGregor fight before, blown away again. Like the shoulder strikes, the head kick, it was insane. And then seeing D being like, "Oh, last week he told me that everyone thinks Cerrone's going to catch me with a head kick. Well, guess what? I'm going to catch him with a head kick." So like that was really, really cool to see. I suppose a couple of things that we haven't touched on yet is the sort of voiceovers throughout. We saw, Owen Roddy do a few voiceovers, Audie Attar does some voiceovers, but one person who maybe we don't hear as much from is the Doc. And the Doc, I think, probably did, from my recollection, did more voiceovers than anyone. Obviously, he's such a massive, integral part to his camps. And you don't get to see that. Like, I remember him, I know I'm sort of going backwards a bit here, but in the first episode, and he's, resetting McGregor's toe in the build-up to the Khabib fight. He's checking all these injuries all the time, and, like, he seems to be on top of the strength and conditioning. And I was actually laughing, like, at some stage, like, people are, I feel like it's a full-time job carrying Conor's like rowing machine around for him to get ready. It seemed to be a different location every time he was going to do it. But like even like alternating grips to do the rowing machine, etc., etc., and like just having them ready, you don't actually realize how integral part of Conor's camp that man is.
Yeah, I think that was where they heavily pushed the McGregor fast as well.
Yeah, definitely. But like, look, that seems to be working for him as well. Because I know obviously he had the injury, and I know we're jumping ahead in the fourth Poirier fight, but like you could actually see physically and mentally he was more ready to go for that one than ever. Obviously the injury happened, but he said he was in the best fighting shape he'd ever been in, and I feel like that's not something he lies about. I know people say, "Oh, I'm the fittest I've ever been," etc. for nearly every fight.
Everyone says,
like,
yeah.
But I feel like he truly and fully believes it when he says it on camera, because I don't feel like it wasn't for an embedded, it wasn't for an interview. He was almost saying it to his team.
You're saying the Conor that fought against Cowboy?
I think it was the Cowboy fight. I think he was fitter than ever. I think the final Poirier fight, he was fitter than ever. You could see that like that McGregor fast training seems to be working well for him. I don't think we've seen the cardio issues that we saw in the first Diaz fight since he started doing McGregor fast. Yeah,
I'd love if we 4-star Stout made us get on that McGregor fast training just to see what we could do. But like just going back to the Cowboy one, like that after he won that fight, the way he won it so convincingly, like the unfortunate thing was it went back, like then it brought up all the COVID stuff, and like that was one thing I'd actually sort of forgotten about COVID. Like it was. But like, I mean, you can't just make excuses here. Like loads of people were doing great things in the build up to COVID, and COVID like halted a lot of shit. And then like the Foyt Island coming up, and so like it's funny how fast times move. That like Foyt Island was even a thing. Like I had actually forgotten about Foyt Island.
Yes, so much changed in the world and in the world of fighting between the Cerrone and Poirier fight. Like, after the Cerrone fight, we saw
that's when he was talking about the season.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw COVID hit. Like, he was getting offered no fights. McGregor was going around Dublin doing like PPE drops and like getting out all the gear, which like he got little to no credit for as well.
Yeah.
So, and then like obviously he was getting frustrated. He was getting no fights. UFC were like obviously not dying to put on a McGregor fight with no fans. That didn't really suit them. Like obviously he sells out arenas. He makes massive pay-per-views. Like they didn't really think it was appropriate to have him on in no building. But at the time, he didn't care.
But it looked like they're obliged to offer 3 fights a year, and like according to Conor, he was getting offered nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And like he took it into his own hands. You know what I mean? That's when he reached out to Dustin saying, "Let's do a charity boxing match." I don't know whether when you were sitting there on the bench and like that tweet actually got said out, was it as quick as that? Like, was that actually the time he tweeted that out? But it was like, it just goes to show the power that man has on a mobile phone. Puts out one tweet and he has the entire world talking.
Yeah, and then when you look at the Conor in the build up to that Poirier fight, compared to the ending of the Poirier the trilogy, like the way they were like they got along so well. He was saying he wanted some of Poirier's hot sauce.
Yeah, it was like nice, Conor.
It was nice, Conor. Yeah, like he'd shaved the head. It was you see, the thing is, Poirier at that stage was being so active, and then Conor was coming off the Cowboy fight, and it was like going straight into someone who was being so active. Poirier was on a run as well. Like he became interim champion, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was an extremely hard fight to take, and I think Conor thrives in like the build up for fight week. Like he like feeds his ego, gets fed off that. Like even though in the build up to it as well, we thought Poirier looked like a deer in headlights. He was almost bowing to Conor. But
I don't think I don't think he knew how to take Conor McGregor being nice to him. it like total polar opposite from when they showed the highlights of the first one, where McGregor's basically intimidating him across the room and getting him riled up on this, and now he's like, he was being so nice to him, and you know they were making deals to like donate money to charity and stuff like that. But I think that was the first time we also saw this like businessman Conor show up, and like the multi-millionaire Conor show up. I know he had that before, but like this was next level. Like when he showed up on like a super yacht to fight week, and like he was over in Dubai, and then he got the flight or the boat across to Abu Dhabi, and he arrived on that super yacht. You were like, geez, this guy is like next level. Like this is a next level superstar in the fight game. Not one other fighter in the world could actually arrive on a super yacht the way McGregor did. It was insane to see. And then
it was a total difference from the beginning of his career as well. The way, even looking at the way, like having, I think he had a second kid then there as well, and he like they're really showing a lot of his personal life at that stage as well. And it's a total opposite to having not a pot to piss in, Conor, like arriving on that super yacht. Like, jeez.
Yeah, it was insane to see. Like I was like, Jesus Christ, like that's a billionaire yacht that he had. It was crazy. Like it really was. I was actually sort of blown away by seeing it. I remember at the time being like, I was like, I actually think I thought it was funny at the time, but looking back, I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's very impressive. Like that's a couple of $100,000 probably to rent that for the few days. So fair play to him. He's knocked out the park. And I suppose that's the thing about him. Like his loyalty showed throughout that like he constantly had the same people around him all the time. He's extraordinarily loyal to those around him. And that's probably what makes him who he is. You know what I mean? His circle is quite closed off, and in the best way possible. He knows who he trusts around him, and he keeps them there.
Yeah, like even the way it was showing flashes of him going to Bellator events, like the way everyone sort of like talks to him, like those events are here because of him. Like even the likes of PFL coming here, Cage Warriors, like all these events are because of him, and it is strange to be now part of like 4-star still, and like obviously being part of the UFC as well, which is every day when we like talk about being part of these brands, we're like, how the fuck do we get here? Like, you know what I mean? Because like life is a crazy, crazy journey, and then just seeing what he like, obviously the more Conor grew, the more we wanted to talk about the UFC, and now to be like part of it in some sort of way, whether it be big or small, that's up to people's judgment. But seeing how much he's risen and how much he's changed and how much the scene has changed and how much we love covering it, it's he's at the forefront of this. And like people may say we're nut huggers or whatever, like it's just the way he changed the landscape of people's mentality in not just that sport but in multiple sports. It's an actual privilege to be covering the sport and like see other people's journeys going out, like the likes of Ian Gary as well. Like we had him on like when he was just very, very fresh in his career, just after his debut. And there's more people coming up. Like there's the likes of Reece McKee, world champion now, Ken Lochran's world champion, Paul Hughes world champion, Danny McCormick world champion. These could all be future fighters on UFC Boston, and it's because Conor bursting the door open for everyone else. It's like everyone's eating now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this man is a trailblazer. You touched on it there. Bellator are only in Dublin because of Conor McGregor, effectively. Like if you look at
the way he's sponsoring Katie Taylor's fight this weekend as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We all go to war. Absolutely. Like Conor McGregor just has taken Irish MMA and like almost dragged it to the place he is now. Obviously, there's other people along the way who have played their part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously us
like, stuff, but like
obviously us.
Yeah, us too. But like in terms of what he's done, like he's put Irish MMA on the map. He's gotten us a fair crack at different opportunities, and I feel like there's a next wave of Irish MMA talent that will be signed to the UFC. But yeah, like seeing him at the Bellator show, you know, Peter Queeley actually almost touched on it, being like, these shows are only happening because of Conor. And he's right, like, you know what I mean? Like the amount of SPG fighters that fight on the Bellator Dublin card every single time out, you know what I mean? Like Irish MMA has the level of fandom it does now because of Conor McGregor. And whether some fans dislike him now or still like him, that's totally up to them. But at the end of the day, they more than likely became fans of the sport through him, or a large proportion did. And now they are fans of other fighters from Ireland as well, which is fantastic. And that's what we love to see. And that's what makes him so special. And that's what makes MMA so special. And like, just one of the sort of takeaways from the sort of entire series is, I suppose, the quote, reasonable men never achieve anything. And Conor McGregor is not a reasonable person. And like,
I had to listen to that back. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's an unbelievably good quote, and
yeah,
I think it's fantastic, and I think, you know, he doesn't compromise. He doesn't, you know, he does everything his way, and he's so convinced his way is the best way, and I just think the guy is an absolute trailblazer. You know what I mean? Like there must be thousands of fighters each year who put on a pair of UFC gloves, and at the end of the day, a lot of people's goal is to get to the UFC, and those UFC gloves are incredible thing to say you've worn. But at the end of the day, they're just gloves, and the gloves don't mean anything until that person actually puts them on their hands. And when he puts them on their hands, it hits different. It makes the entire world stop and watch and listen. And no one else has that capability. Only him. He's the biggest trailblazer this sport has ever done. I actually watched Air, the Michael Jordan film, and I was like, what Michael Jordan has done for basketball, Conor McGregor has actually done for MMA. And that's just matter of fact to me at this stage. He has transcended the sport. He's taken a sport that was shunned, looked down upon in many avenues of the media, in many countries throughout the world. And look, at 2021, he was the highest paid sports athlete in the world, something that you would never think is possible for an MMA fighter. Not only did he make it possible, he went and done it. He topped the list. He was making more money than people like Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi this year, in that year. It was absolutely insane to see, and especially in a sport where its fighter pay is constantly criticized. He went out and he made more money than any other sports athlete in the world. And when you think about that, like, you think of like the deals Roger Federer has with Nike, you think of LeBron James, you think of Tiger Woods, you think of all these guys who have been around for ages, they're household names everywhere. And that year, Conor earned far more than them. It is absolutely insane to think. And that's prior to the sale of Proper Number 12, another 600 million in the bank. And then him now with Forge Irish Stout doing really, really well. The Black Forge in, like, it's only a matter of time before we see more and more of them open. Tidal Sports seems to be going really, really well in the US. Obviously, he still has shares in Proper Number 12. Now he has Proper Number 12 Apple. Like, the man is an absolute mogul. And it doesn't look like he's stopping anytime soon.
Come see, believe, achieve. Shut the fuck up.
You forgot to mention what Katie's doing as well for Irish boxing. It's crazy. Like, Conor's doing stuff for MMA, Katie's doing it for boxing. Like, in this small country, it's unreal. And we have Bono, man.
Yeah. Ireland is pound for pound one of the best countries in the world. Like, it really, really is, especially when it comes to sports stars and sort of, I don't know, icons of any industry. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at acting, like Colin Farrell, Barry Keoghan, Liam Neeson, Brendan Gleeson, like, we're up for Oscars and that. Come to music, you know, we have, you know, Bono, we have U2, whoever else, you know what I mean? Like, we have all these top.
Actually, I walked by Larry Mullen the other day and I was like, that is a rock star.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, for a small country, we punch well above our waist, and it's one of those things where I think there's also that natural begrudgery in Ireland as well. So if you get too successful, we begin to not like you. You two are definite proponents of that. I'm sure Conor's had that. And that's actually one thing I did want to ask you about. What did you make of, you know, you had like the weighing in show, you had True Geordie, you had a few other sort of YouTube channels, and they were saying he was finished. They were saying there's no way back from this, etc., etc. And they were basically writing Conor off. What did you make of that? And did you just go to show that, like, that man sees everything?
He does see everything. When I heard all that, see, a lot of people like to hype you up when you're on the come up, and then when you lose, it's easy to knock you.
They'll be the first with the shovel to put the dirt on the grave.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then on YouTube videos or any sort of content, if we put this out saying McGregor forever is shit, we get loads of views in this, right? Now, and we get we get fired straight away from Forge Irish Stout as well. But like, we're just putting this out as McGregor forever review, documentary review, because like it just brings you back to so many good times, especially in Ireland. Because when he fought, everyone was talking about it. It was great crack. But like, with these lads saying that stuff, they knew they were going to get views. They knew it was a hot take. They knew they were going to get clipped. They knew it was going to go viral, because it was going to go viral because he was untouchable for years because he kept winning. And then once he lost, they came at him. And then obviously when he done things like, for instance, the dolly against Khabib, people went against him and turned against him. And then it's hard to turn people back around, because if someone's looking for a reason to dislike it and they find that reason, they're like, oh, I knew it. I was totally right all along. But like, it goes to show the stuff that he's done. He did for community during COVID, stuff he does for the MMA scene in Ireland, the way he's promoting the boxing this weekend. You see multiple faces of him, and I did like the way he put out that people were calling him out because it goes to show that drives him.
Yeah, well, obviously he wants to prove people wrong, so that's always going to drive him. And like, I suppose the last time we did see Conor, and it's not really a spoiler because everyone knows what happened. He broke his leg in the Poirier fight.
Yeah. What's it? The way he took that fight straight away, Ross, right? He obviously lost to Poirier in Foy Island, and he said he's going to do it, run it back. And he did it straight. He did it basically straight away. That was the fight, Poirier 3, till the day I go out. That episode's called. What do you want to make of the way he took that fight back straight away?
I think there is maybe. I'm not going to call it an ego, but like
because he did it with Diaz as well.
No, definitely, but obviously he injured his foot or his ankle in the training camp. We saw the footage. We saw him do his kick, and he was told to take a week off. And he seems like someone who really struggles to actually stop the training. He's like, oh, well, can I do this or can I do that instead? Or he doesn't really like to let the body rest. But I also feel like he feels compelled to not let his fan base and his fans and his training camp down. That like he still shows up and takes the fight, even though he's not in 100% health. And I think maybe he needs to.
Well, how many fighters will be 100% healthy going into fights as well?
Probably not a lot, but like at the end of the day, like this was, I think it was originally described as a deep bone bruise.
Also, the amount of money on the line here as well. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, like he's under more pressure to actually show up on fight night than probably any fighter in UFC history. So it's a rough one. So like he showed up not 100% healthy, and at the end of the day, he lost that fight because of the broken bone in his foot. Like I know some people are saying, "Oh well, Poirier was winning that round," but we saw against Khabib that Khabib had some dominant rounds, and then in the third round, the round before McGregor lost, McGregor won that round. Not many people have taken rounds off Khabib. Like it was one of the clear times where there's a massive consensus that McGregor won that round. So it is definitely one of those things where like we've seen thousands of fights. So like say someone was winning and they were going to go on and win is not ever really a fair statement unless like the ref is on the verge of stopping it.
Yeah, also I don't think his ankle just broke out of nowhere.
Like no, that looked like it was like
that was a
series of damage, and then like that was the straw that broke the ankle's back.
Yeah, but even I remember watching that fight and I was like, there's something off here. He doesn't look like what he normally looks like. And then obviously the ankle broke, but that was obviously what was going on.
Yeah, definitely. That ankle was clearly an issue.
The way that broke, when you look at that, it's absolutely disgusting, man. No matter how many times you look at it, like you don't want to see anyone like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and I suppose that leads us to what's coming up next. Like obviously he's done the Ultimate Fighter now, Michael Chandler. That'll be airing 30th of May.
Yeah, 30th of May.
Yeah,
on UFC Fight Pass as well. Make sure you get on that.
On UFC Fight Pass, if you're in the UK and Ireland or anywhere across EMEA, it will actually be on UFC Fight Pass 2 days before it goes on ESPN. So you can catch it there first. Well, it'll be on the same time as it is the ESPN America, but ESPN Europe. Yeah, so make sure to catch it there. We're going to do reviews of every episode. We're going to sit down and have a look at each episode and talk about it live on here. So make sure to be smashing that subscribe button to not miss the Energized content on that. But what do you make of him versus Chandler?
I thought that was going to be a very, very good fight. I remember in the build-up, people were talking about, oh, he's going to do the Ultimate Fighter. Who's he going to do it against? Is it going to be Tony Ferguson? Is it going to be Nate Diaz? Now, it turned out it was meant to be Nate Diaz. But I think Michael Chandler, Michael Chandler is never in a boring fight. He's just never in a boring fight. He has the sort of all-American personality to him, like the way he's like he adopts kids, the way he's always the way he's just. I thought he's very American. What am I to say? He's just he seems like a really, really nice guy, cool guy, and I think that really works the way they're gonna have the sort of Chad Mendes, Conor McGregor sort of thing. The way they had some like country singer remember they had some country singer for Chad Mendes coming out. Like they can sort of do something like that for Michael Chandler. The way Conor's come back, they have the Irish thing. It's a match made in heaven. The funny thing is the way like Ian Gary is in Michael Chandler's team, and yet like he's like an Irish fighter, and him and Conor have this great bond now as well. It's going to be really interesting to see like what way Ian's career is going to go in the build up to this fight. Like, you know, I mean, will he get asked to come train with Conor? Will he train with Michael Chandler and be mimicking that style? Like, I mean, that's going to be very interesting. What do you make?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be.
No one's listening, so let us know your truth, man.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely going to be something interesting, like a strange narrative and storyline to be looking at from the outside in. So I definitely think it's something to look at. Obviously he spoke to Michael Chandler and was like, "Don't go wild, don't go wild." And then Chandler's like, "What are you talking about? I never go wild." And like that was sort of funny to see. But like obviously Ian's pledged his allegiance to Conor McGregor, so he's going to be cheering for him.
Pledged his allegiance to the flag, man.
Yeah,
that's right, Conor, baby.
To the flag of the Black Forge.
He's looking for that Forge Irish now sponsor, Russell. That's not.
Yeah,
lie.
he is. Well, he doesn't drink, so he probably won't be. But
yeah, the non-alcoholic one, the 0%.
Yeah, you better believe it. But that's sort of where he's at. So, like, I don't know. I think
he's going to be on that card anyway.
Yeah, Ian Gary's definitely going to be on that card. It looks like that's been like sort of slightly kicked down the road a bit. Like obviously, what do we have? UFC 292 booked for Boston.
Yeah.
293 is booked for Australia. So 294 looks like it's the next
Abu Dhabi
card. Potentially so, although I think they want to do.
That's booked.
Oh, okay. So what we're looking at?
Oh no, I think 291 is Abu Dhabi, isn't it?
But it looks like 294 is also in the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi, or maybe it's another one. But like,
Poirier versus Gaethje 2 is UFC 291. That's in.
Okay, so we're looking at UFC 95 effectively.
Okay, yeah. So 291 Salt Lake City, 292 Boston, 293 Abu Dhabi, 294.
294 is Abu Dhabi.
293.
Oh, sorry.
293 Australia.
Yeah, 293 Australia, 294 Abu Dhabi. We eventually got there. So we're looking at UFC 295 for McGregor. But the only bonus is, if UFC 292 comes next, which is Boston, there's a great opportunity to do 295, then Vegas, and get the people on both, effectively. So you could get Ian Gary at UFC 292 and then Ian Gary at 295. You can get that turnaround. It's not too close. So
yeah, I think it's looking like, at the moment, it's sort of looking like December.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, talking about Boston, I don't know whether you want to give it a few minutes of time, but Reece McKee is obviously petitioning at the moment to fight Brian Battle. It looks like things are moving in a nice direction for that one. Like, they both want that. Fair play to Brian Battle as well, because he's just coming off an outrageous win against Gable Green there.
Yeah.
What was it, 13, 14 seconds?
14, yeah.
Yeah, although, like, probably one of the best 14 seconds of fighting I've ever seen.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was absolute chaos. But it looks like Brian Battle's got to put his Ultimate Fighter trophy on the line if Reece McKee puts his Cage Warriors belt on the line. So I'd definitely be down for that. Sign me up to it. You know who I think Paul Hughes should fight in that card? Because I want to get Paul Hughes in that card. What would you think Paul Hughes versus Chase Hooper?
Yeah. Like, Chase Hooper's just sort of long.
Yeah, but I think, like, that's a nice... He's fighting someone with a bit of a name, but, like, I think Paul Hughes would probably win that handily. Like, I feel like skill-wise, he's streets ahead of him.
Yeah, well, Chase Hooper's on this weekend.
Yeah, so if Chase Hooper... I think if Chase Hooper wins or loses, I think that's a nice opponent for him.
Yeah, I feel like Paul Hughes is trying to go straight into the top 15.
I know, yeah, but it'd be nice if he had a handy enough win in Boston.
Yeah.
In front of a pro-Irish crowd.
Yeah, a signature win. Yeah, just hopefully they get some Irish people on it, because I know when like Molly McCann fights, they give her the Irish badge. Johnny Walker came out with the Irish badge, and they like to put Sean O'Malley in the Irish badge as well.
Yeah, and then I'd love to get Caelan Loughran on that card as well. Maybe against like a Bernie Newsom or something like that. Someone who's sort of 2-4 in the UFC. He's got 6 fights. Another sort of favourable matchup for the Irish. I'd love to see those 3 on the card. I'd love to see Danny Nealon on the card. And why not throw Kiefer Crosby on the card there?
Kiefer isn't like that. Coming off that win against the Brazilian Cowboy, like Kiefer puts on a show.
Yeah, he really is. And like, again, Kiefer's like welterweight, lightweight, any weight, get me in there. Kiefer weight.
That was in welterweight, that last one. But I'm sure if he was given a lightweight fight, he'd make it as well.
Yeah, and I saw Danny McCormick and John Kavanagh were saying like, oh, who's the first title defense going to be against? I think as time goes further on, I'm like less up for Danny versus Shauna. I think I'd rather see Danny get signed.
Yeah.
And then I would rather see Shauna gets fight for the belt and then get signed as well. I just think as times move past that, obviously when they both fought on the same night, you're like, that makes sense. Get them in there. But as time's gone on, I'm like, I don't want to see the Irish fight each other, really. I want to see them both signed to the UFC. And if down the line they have to fight each other in the UFC, so be it. But a fight like that, the 2 girls should be fairly compensated for it, and it should be on one of the biggest stages possible.
I'd agree. And then Lee Hammond's on the Ultimate Fighter as well.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I think his debut is obviously going to be sort of a grey area because I think the Ultimate Fighter is going to have to be over for him to make a debut. So I don't know whether it will be over by Boston. I assume it will be. So hopefully we can get him on that card as well. We sort of need to see how he does in the Ultimate Fighter before we start making matchups for him. But who knows? Normally they fight someone else from the Ultimate Fighter, so hopefully he'll fight one of those guys. And why not throw Brad Catone on there as well? Man, it doesn't really get much better for Irish MMA than this.
No, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesus, Baz, we're over 40 minutes into this podcast. Like this is the first time in a very long time where just me and you have shot the breeze on Irish MMA, and I've loved it. Yeah,
we haven't been allowed, man.
Yeah, we haven't been allowed. Yeah, like certain people won't let us. You know, like the lads in FAI were like, no, we have to have us on the podcast instead. Especially Pat McAllister, and I heard that. No, it is one of those things where we do try and bring you a guest each week just to give you the focus. To be honest, we just don't like the focus being on us. We like the focus being on other people. But we asked Conor to come on and discuss McGregor forever, but he said he was busy, so he said he'd come on another time. So we'll get him on another time to discuss. Maybe after one of the tough episodes, we'll get him on for. Busy man, believe it or not.
It's funny how you just said that.
Okay.
Yeah. Ross, this was obviously quite enjoyable. Like the documentary itself.
Yeah, give us a final rating there out of 10, Baz.
Like content-wise, like I'll get quality. Like I give it a solid. You see, I'm not going to give it a 10 because like he didn't win every fight. So overall, I'll give it an 8.5 or a proper 12.
Yeah, no. First, I'll probably give it a 9 out of 10 as well. I think I would have taken another episode or two, to be honest. I think, like, probably didn't score 10 because I wanted more content.
Yeah, what would you episodes. Like? Like obviously before we wrap things up, what would you like to have seen more of?
Maybe more of his downtime, but I assume the cameras aren't there on his downtime as much, if that makes sense. Like, I'd almost like to see like a day in the life vlog of Conor McGregor, what he gets up to, or like I wouldn't mind seeing some of like the business meetings and stuff he has.
The business one was one that I would have liked to see more, like the inception of proper Forza or Stout.
Yeah, and proper 12. I'd like to see like like how did he get that off the ground? Like him going to the distillery, etc., tasting the whiskey for the first time. That sort of stuff I think will be really, really cool to see.
The more business stuff, because obviously as time goes on, it becomes more and more of a businessman, and that's not something we saw as much of. Like bar the Parry match stuff, Like we didn't get to see them go to, as you said, the distilleries or anything.
Yeah, but who knows? Like maybe he has all that archived as well, and we'll get a different documentary for that. Like, shout out to Dave Fogarty as well, who does a great job, like documenting all the stuff and taking the snaps. So who knows? Maybe there's more stuff in the pipeline that we'll get to see at a later date. Maybe who knows? Like there could be a Forged Irish Stout documentary to come. There could be a proper number 12 documentary to come. You never know. Like that man, like constantly has cameras on him, so I'm sure there's content to beat the band, and it's probably very hard to wrap it up into a certain amount of episodes.
Who on the documentary did you think deserves a shout out for being like one of the best on camera performers?
I wouldn't even say on camera performers, but I thought Conor Jr. was great. I really liked when like I just thought it was so touching when like he got like that little bit upset before Conor went out to fight. I was like, Jesus, that sort of would remind me of like if I ever have to leave Theo for a few days, I have to go. And he's like, "Oh, don't go," and you're like, oh, that's such a human element that you don't really get to see of him.
Yeah, I didn't even know that really existed, so I'm sure you're used to that. Yeah. But like, well, Theo's more like, here, go.
Yeah, he's like, get out. he's like, you go to work, Daddy. But I thought that was sort of
don't come back.
Yeah, exactly. And then I thought the doc was great. I thought I wasn't expecting to get him to get as much airtime, but like I thought he seems like a really, really interesting character.
Yeah, but it was good to see Arnie make an appearance
cameo
at the end. Yeah. I still can't believe he's like best mates with Arnie, but like I mean, the way the world's so connected now, I shouldn't be surprised. Like Arnie's going to be in every documentary now, but I think Roddy, for some reason, Roddy was brilliant in that. Like even doing the voiceovers, like just to helping out, just being a coach there. He was there's something about Owen Roddy that is just so lovable. I think everyone in the country loves him as well.
Yeah, like Roddy is someone who's ingrained in the landscape of Irish MMA. He's been there from basically the start to where it is today. Obviously, head coach of SPG Charlestown, phenomenal striking coach, and just great to see his input, and also like the friendship and respect him and Conor have for each other, and like
just going on that journey, the whole journey, like like obviously John's there as well.
Yeah,
the Roddy.
Yeah, but seeing Roddy's like devastation when Conor lost to Khabib, and then the elation when he beat Cowboy was something else.
Yeah, it was like jumping up and down.
Yeah, it was like it was if like you know someone gave him or someone called out his numbers at the local bingo hall. You know what I mean? And he's after winning $100,000 or something. You know what I mean? It was epic proportion celebration. But I suppose,
and Roddy's about to go on that journey now. Like hopefully with Max Lally as well. Like that's.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal prospect.
Just
phenomenal
that experience.
Talent. And I suppose one of the other takeaways was just Conor being like, you know, and it's something I actually remember my dad saying to me, like, you know,
well, get out.
You only get out what you put in life. You know what I mean? And like he said that time and time again. And like he's always one of, if not the hardest worker in the room. It really, really goes to show that the guys after building an empire outside the cage, but what a legacy inside the cage, a legacy like no other. And like they touched on, you know what I mean? There'll be plenty more Irish fighters to come, but there'll never be another Conor McGregor.
I know, yeah. Some buzz, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's great to have been somewhat of a part of it. It's great to get to witness it. You know what I mean? I suppose it's one of those things where like your dad might tell you about Georgie Best, watching him as a kid, and you'll never quite grasp it, if you know what I mean. And I'm sure in 30 years' time, we'll be telling our kids about Conor McGregor, and they'll be like, what made him so special? And like, it's one of those things you can't just describe it. Like, it just was what it was. The way he made so many people get emotionally invested in his career, and the way he's continually going to do that, it's insane. Like, I was, one thing I did break my heart laughing at, when he was talking about all like the fake McGregor Instagram pages, and then like you went and met one of those fans from the fake page who'd like camped out 12 hours to meet him. I was like, this is insane. It really, really is. So
there is so many. There's so many. Ever since he followed us, man, the amount of people just following now is crazy.
Yeah, it is absolutely wild. But great documentary. Would definitely recommend watching. Really, really entertaining. Great behind the scenes footage, and quite inspirational, motivational as well. Just to see like his grit and determination to get back in there and constantly look for that improvement. And like you said, he has all the money in the world. He doesn't need to fight, but he does it for the love of the sport and the love of the competition. And we're here for it. Like there's nothing like a McGregor fight week. There's nothing like a McGregor fight announcement. These are the things that people really, really love, and this is what people want to see. And that's why we decided to do an episode on it. And that's why we're going to cover The Ultimate Fighter as well.
And Roadhouse.
And Roadhouse. We'll even go to the cinema and watch Roadhouse and give her a review. We'll crack open a few cans.
We'll get Jake Gyllenhaal on.
Yeah, we will do. Not a bother to us. We'll get anyone on.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Like
we're not here to take part. We're here to take over. But guys, thanks a million for watching this episode today. We had great crack. Hope you enjoyed the conversation as well. Barry, it was lovely to do an episode just the two of us. Like I touched on earlier. Not something we
done
get
that
to
since
do
like
regularly.
COVID or something.
Exactly. So nice little touching point, and we'll probably be doing a few more over tough. We might get a few tough contestants on. Who knows? We'll see what way it goes. But thanks a million for watching. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Do not miss any more Energized content. And as always, stay energized.
Energized show, up the Irish. Been sussing you guys a couple of times. I've seen a couple of clips. I think you've done some interviews with Dylan Moran and that I saw. So keep going, keep up the good work, guys.